Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions concerning this watch. For 2024, Tudor is going cycling, and the Tudor Pro Cycling team members can rely on this, the Tudor Pelagos FXD Chrono cycling. This is a chronograph designed not for motorsports and not for combat swimmers, but for my favorite sport, pro cycling. In sapphire, titanium, and composite, it is feather light with a chronograph tachymeter scale that is calibrated for the speeds that cyclists actually ride. So, technically part of Pelagos collection and the military-inspired FXD series, it feels stark and tactical, but it has a very civilian focal point. We'll talk about that in a moment. The watch is 43 millimeters in diameter, two different ways to measure it. If you just measure the case, 13.4. But as you can see, the strap is underslung, and that's how the strap fits, because it has these military-inspired FXD fixed lugs. So for all practical purposes, it's always going to be 14.4, which is what it measures with the strap in place. The strap is 22 millimeters wide, and it is made in France on 19th century equipment by Julien Faure and the Faure Co., making the strap specifically for Tudor's use. It features blackened titanium hardware, and when we throw it on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference, you can see it's fairly large, but again, it's also fairly light. As sapphire, titanium, and carbon composite is used here, they're all very light materials. It's not super thick, especially since part of that is that compliant strap on the back, so the way it sits on the wrist is 13.4. The way it measures in thickness is 14.4. Just take that under advisory. Now you can see down the barrel, the watch is broad, but as light as it is, I could recommend it for a wrist my size or larger. It really fits quite comfortably, and I normally don't say that with underslung straps. Although the strap is tactical, it works like a normal strap, so it doesn't have a lot of extra thickness. It doesn't use a gooseneck locking mechanism. We just have little apertures on one side, a pin buckle in the other, so you get the NATO look without the NATO quirks. The hardware is pretty standard Tudor fare. It is titanium and blackened, and the metal components on the watch are titanium and blackened. We have this composite case, and you can see everything from the fixed military-inspired lugs to the case bevels have been molded into this piece. We've got pointed and squared vintage-inspired crown guards. We do have a screw-down crown here. The watch, in terms of water resistance, is a credible 100 meters, which means, yes, you can absolutely swim with it as well as cycling. And the watch also features a two-part bezel. So you've got a 60-second bezel if you just want to easily and quickly time a 60-second interval, or perhaps less. And then you also have a register. Even though this is a Breitling B01 movement, Tudor modifies it in several ways, one of which is to add a 45-minute register instead of the Breitling's 30. Now we have a Rehaut at about 45 degrees on the dial that features a scale employing magnitudes that are relevant to cycling. So cyclists don't ride at 300, 200, or 100 kilometers per hour, although Sean Kelly reportedly did hit 100 on a downhill. Cyclists tend to ride between 10 miles an hour if they're going uphill. So we'll call that about 16 to, let's say, 60 kilometers per hour for the most part, depending on whether they're on a hill or in a sprint. So this scale, featuring double-digit numbers, is more likely to correctly register the speed of a cyclist on, for example, a 1 kilometer measured stretch. Now we have a combination here of white and red and black, because those are the colors of the Tudor Pro Cycling team. And if you take a look, you can see that we do have these solid blocks of luminescence. So while the dial aesthetic is borrowed a little bit from the snowflake-style Tudor Submariners of the 60s and 70s, the use of solid blocks of lume on the dial is a very modern phenomenon. You can see that the watch is quite well loomed and that those blocks have length, width, and height. It's a great-looking watch in the dark. Now, the movement includes features that you would expect from something based on a Breitling B01. Tudor calls this the MT5813, but we have hacking seconds, so you can stop the watch and synchronize it to a reference time, and we also have a quick set for the date. Now, other changes Tudor makes to this movement include the replacement of Breitling's Edicron and eccentric screw regulator system for a free-sprung balance similar to what Rolex uses, with variable inertia bolts on the balance itself, allowing for both more precise adjustment and greater shock tolerance. Tudor also fits an anti-magnetic silicon hairspring, a technology that Breitling does not have. The movement is automatic winding with a 70-hour power reserve. It features a column wheel for crisp operation, and I mean really crisp operation, and then a vertical clutch so the chronograph always engages without jump or stagger. So it's a very smooth engagement. If you like to leave your chrono running full-time with a vertical clutch, you can do that without additional hazard, wear, or tear. The watch also features 5-position adjustment and a COSC Swiss chronometer certification, so in addition to being a very modern movement, it is also a very accurate movement. And the watch has a lovely blacked out look. It's in good taste, just like the Tudor Pro Cycling Team kit, which is one of the most attractive and timeless in the peloton. If you love Tudor, if you love the heritage of military watches, if you love pro cycling, all of that and more can be found in this Tudor Pelagos FXD Chrono Cycling. Reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.